Use your powers for evil,
Your evil is mine.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Next Stop Everywhere, where we are talking New Who.
Yay! At
If
last.
Yes, if Charles and I sound a little more energetic, it's because due to travel plans, we are recording not 15 minutes after BBC America has stopped the episode.
Yeah, I want to publicly thank Jesse for working with me on this one. I know I asked a lot to have him watch it live as opposed to DVRing through all the commercials,
Well,
but I
the
really
only
appreciate
thing
it.
The only thing I felt a little bad about, and this is definitely worth it, is, Michelle Gomez was in Houston this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and I had debated on going down to try to see her,
Oh.
and then a friend of the podcast, Evan Pike, and then at the Angelica, they were showing the episode on the big screen.
Right.
And so if we weren't going to record, I may have done either one of those, but it's more fun, and I don't know if we'll do this all the time,
Right.
but there is an excitement to,
Yes.
because I don't have a favorite quote.
No, it's live. It's like
I
off
mean,
the cuff.
I don't have a lot of research. This
Yep.
is just
We're gonna wing it.
We are winging it. It is beautiful. So, and I also thought when we get down to ratings, it's going to be really hard for me not to just rate with my heart and give it a 10 out of 10 because it's been so long. And real quick, I'm going to get you in a minute. We're going to give you you're going to give us an elevator speech or a quick summary about the importance of Davros and Skaro and why this is going. But I think of all the times, and maybe I'm overselling this because it just happened, but the prologue and the preview, the little few minutes where he was with the people, whatever the ladies were that, where Paul McGann,
the Sisterhood of Karn.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the doctor's meditation.
Mm-hmm.
These really fit in well. I mean, a lot of times it's just kind of fun, little things.
Right.
But this truly was a saying of layers. And then once you talk about an old enemy, I'm all thinking the master and all this stuff, but that makes perfect sense once you reveal it.
Right. And they did a really good job keeping that under wraps.
Yes.
They show the Daleks. They show the Dalek Emperor, so you figure, well, the Dalek Emperor's there. So usually it's like either Davros or the Dalek Emperor. So if you show the Dalek Emperor, you're like, oh, it's just going to be the Dalek Emperor and the Daleks. There are classic Daleks who are like, ooh, that's good. But to bring back Julian Beach as Davros, who was last seen was in The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, was just fantastic.
And did you guess that might be who the doctor needed to go see that was sick?
It was a possibility.
Okay.
But I figured, well, with Missy around, you kind of figured it was Missy maybe, but
yeah.
Anyway, but this is just to give everybody up to speed. Obviously we're talking about The Magician's Apprentice, the first episode of Series 9, which we just watched on BBC America. This episode was written by Stephen Moffat and directed by Hetty MacDonald. And this brought back a lot of Doctor Who's lore. Like like I described it on Twitter, this is continuity porn for Whovians, especially old school Whovians. You had just running through the list here. You had Davros, you had Missy, the Mistress, returning. You had we got Skaro, we've got the Shadow Proclamation,
Mm-hmm.
Return, who we also hadn't seen since the Stolen Earth, with the Holly Hunter, or Kelly Hunter, excuse me, as the return of the Shadow Architect. So
Yeah.
we saw her with the Jadoon,
Mm-hmm.
Jadoon platoon upon the moon. Uh, we saw. We got to see cameos by an Ood, Sycorax,
Yes.
the Hath. You know, those little fish guys with the like little water things on
Yeah.
in their mask. They go blah 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 blah. Yeah,
Yeah.
those
I
guys.
tweeted it. It was their version of the cantina scene
Yeah,
in
pretty
Star
much.
Wars, and it was well done. I didn't think it was gratuitous. It was just,
No, it was a
it
little
was
quick. I
nice.
wish it would have kind of lingered there. I would have liked to have
Yes.
gotten a little bit more of it, but.
Absolutely.
And then we also got the Sisterhood of Karn and the
Yes.
return of Ohila.
Yeah. So
Oh, and Kate
yeah.
Stewart and Kate Stewart and Unit. We got
Yes.
that as
And
well.
I
So
I
lots of stuff, lots of elements
yeah,
brought into this one.
and one of the things that I usually do is when I'm watching an episode, I rewind a lot. I write down dialogue, I make notes, and this time because I knew we were going to record, I couldn't. So, but I love Claire getting onto the Who cycle, and racing.
It's the Claire cycle. No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no,
yeah,
no,
it's
no,
like,
no, no, no.
shades of Yvonne Craig, rest in
Yes,
peace, right? That
right.
just she's flying there, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Unit, that would be Unit needing me," and
Yep.
just this cockiness that was just so great.
Well, to be fair, she's probably tight with Unit now because of
Oh, sure,
all the various counters, like in the
yeah.
Day of the Doctor and
Mhm.
all kinds of other things. So
Yeah, and I love Kate. I think she is a wonderful character, and the actress who plays her is just wonderful. It has such a
yeah, Jenna Redgrave.
a
Yeah,
depth and a wisdom that really does well. So
she has she has uh, Kate has her father's authority,
yes,
the
absolutely.
Brigadier's authority. So
Yes. So Charles, really quick, and I
yeah.
think I understand this enough, but for those of us who aren't as schooled in the mythology, they showed a very famous scene of the Fourth Doctor debating on, if I put these two wires
Mhm.
together, I will, eliminate the Daleks. And of course, the Daleks have been eliminated multiple times, but
Right.
but they keep
Yeah.
coming back. But and I guess there's a scene where he talks about if you could go back and kill a young boy or
Right.
stop a boy, right? So
Well, what happens is
yeah, why don't you give us a
okay.
little bit of background on
Yeah,
it? Okay.
a little. Just to in this episode in Magician's Apprentice, what we get, we get the audio
Mhm.
from Genesis of the Daleks, which is the
Yes.
Tom Baker story that kind of weighs pretty heavily into this story. Uh,
Which I think I got I'm this
yeah,
is the problem when
yeah,
we haven't had time because we're gonna keep interrupting each
that's
other,
okay.
but
That's okay.
you're this is your slam dunk reverse the polarity,
Pretty
right?
much.
I was like,
Genesis. I will spoil it right now. Genesis of the Daleks. Go
I,
watch it. I mean, it's like probably one of the top five Doctor Who stories of all time.
but I was like,
So
when I
yeah,
was getting a fresh beverage for us that
yep,
I'm going to drink while
yep.
we're talking. I'm like, well, that was easy for Charles. So
Which is good because we didn't have time to research
no,
it.
we
So
didn't.
that's
So okay, go ahead, sir.
but yeah. So this is your mandatory viewing between uh, now and the second part. The Witch is Familiar next week because obviously it's going to come into play and there's going to be a lot of kind of recurring themes I think we're going to see. So yeah, watch that episode. It's a great story anyway, top
Right.
notch. But we also got some audio from Peter Davison's story Resurrection of the Daleks, which also
Hmm.
featured Davros. Um, and we got Sylvester McCoy's in Remembrance of the Daleks when he's talking about, his basically his little like unlimited rice pudding. He's making fun of the Daleks right before he blows up Skaro with the hand of Omega. And
Hmm.
so we got a lot of little callbacks and nice nods to the past, which was great. Um, as for Genesis, though, The scene you were talking about where the Doctor is faced with this huge moral, ethical dilemma where there's a set of circumstances where ultimately it leads to the the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, being able to uh, all he has to do is touch two wires together, and it will blow up this lab where the Daleks are being formed. And therefore, so he has the power in his hands to take out the Daleks once and for all. So he wrestles with this, of whether if he has the right to do this, because of everything in time and space that is affected from that point on, like all the alien races that the Daleks encounter, all the various battles the Doctor fights over and now including the Time War. All of that is changed if he would just touch these two wires together. All that goes away. And so it's a huge, and being a Time Lord, it's like, if you're going to cause ripples in time, this is a huge one.
Well, and the thought is also, it isn't just as simple as I can put these two wires together and I can change things for the good. What I can do is change. And,
right.
I'm in the middle of reading Peter David's latest New Frontier novel.
Right. I need to do that too.
Yeah. And there is a scene where Mac, the hero of his show, it goes to the
Mackenzie, yeah.
Yeah, Mackenzie goes to Guardian of the Edge of Forever, and he's debating about going. And, someone who's guarding the Guardian talks about, but you don't know what'll happen. You don't know what are all these things, and they talk about it. And so I know not only do you have the ethics of, is it right for me to destroy a race completely, genocide?
Right.
But also, will this solution make things worse in ways I don't know? Pretty heavy stuff for a little bitty science fiction show.
Well, the Doctor, generally the Doctor has always been, well, this is a fixed point. I can't change it, even though sometimes I do. It all depends on my mood that week.
Yes.
But this one,
like Kirk in the Prime Directive.
Yeah. And obviously the temptation's there because he does hate the Daleks.
Yes.
And with a passion. It's more so after the Time War.
Yeah.
So there's that temptation there, and now you're kind of seeing the 12th Doctor now faced with this.
Yes.
And I'm really enjoying that he's got this such a kind of a gravity, a weight, a burden that he's wrestling with. This is good. I think this is probably this episode is probably Capaldi's first classic episode.
Yeah, I could make that argument. I agree with that.
It's one of those that might stand the test of. It's obviously going to depend on how the second part goes.
If they stick the landing and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And Moffat sometimes has a problem sticking the landing, as we know. But this, this started off like the feeling I got from this episode was pretty much like when I watched The Stolen Earth.
Yeah.
Which the first part of that was terrific.
Yeah.
And I think this is more so. So if Moffat can stick this landing in The Witch is Familiar next week, I think this is going to be probably the first true classic of Peter Capaldi's era.
Yeah, and I love that they're expanding the mythos.
And this is only the season finale or premiere.
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine what he's going to do for the finale.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice touch that Davros comments your new face. But somehow senses that it is the Doctor, and not just, I guess, because because it could have been, why'd you bring this person? This isn't the Doctor, but he knows.
Right. Well, he's seen enough of the various Doctors, right? So he's into it.
And on a side note, you and I both went to see the special, Doctor Who at the cinema 3D
right
this week, and they did afterwards they had Will Wheaton interviewing Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman, and I really appreciated watching the Doctor play the guitar even more after hearing him.
Yeah, because he
Because
was talking about all the decision making that went into getting
yes,
that guitar. That was a great scene,
yes.
and
Well, and
yeah,
for the I think everyone knows that Capaldi was in a band very early and is
right,
a huge music fan. And, he talked about, he said the best day ever, right, is going to pick the Doctor's guitar. Only day better is when they tell you you're going to be the Doctor.
yeah,
And for him, and he's debating all these, Stratocasters and Fenders, and he picks one that did look awesome.
yeah,
And I knew the axe joke was coming, but I loved it just as much. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, look, it's a medieval time and he's wielding
yeah.
his axe. And very, very funny.
And I think it went a long way to kind of lightening up his Doctor.
Yes.
I think like a lot of some critics, people that were used to Matt Smith,
Yeah.
they looked at Capaldi's 12th Doctor and went, "Oh, he's so serious."
Yeah.
Well, now you can have that. He has got the shades on, just like
Yeah.
David Tennant, and
Yes.
so
Yeah. He was rocking the shades.
and and he comes. What better entrance for the Doctor than to come out riffing on electric guitar,
Yes.
cranked up, coming out with smoke and on a giant tank,
Yes.
looking just like like Capaldi says in the little making of that was in the
Yeah.
commercials, like something out of a music video,
Yes.
which was great.
I couldn't tell what was on his T-shirt. That I loved. He was in a T-shirt though.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like that look, of him doing.
Do you want to just run through the episode?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I want to have your thoughts about Missy and Jenna.
Yeah.
So I'll let you
Okay.
take over steering for a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Feel free to jump in and tell me to shut up any time.
Absolutely.
Okay. We start off the episode. We open in the smoky battlefield with biplanes overhead, but they're shooting lasers, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it made me really. It was interesting to see all the different times, and I said, okay, well, that's something different. We aren't used to seeing, and so that was nice.
Yeah, it immediately hooks you.
Yes.
As a viewer, you had kind of resistance fighters fighting with bows and arrows, which I thought was interesting. There's obviously this one resistance fighter comes across a boy, and they're talking about there's like a shaking of the ground.
Yeah, and I thought it was a minefield,
Right.
even though they had clearly shown us the hands coming out of the ground. I wasn't quick enough to connect those two.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, it's a minefield or something, and then no, it's something else.
It's a minefield of hands. So what better name to call it than hand mines?
Yes, exactly.
And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people dreaming about hand mines tonight. So,
yes, it was.
Good luck dreaming about those
very
things.
creepy.
I know my wife was very creeped out. Those things, the hands started coming out of the ground. She's like,
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of skeeved her out a little bit.
The only thing that may hold close to that is Snake Man.
Yeah.
That was a pretty creepy.
Yeah,
we'll get to that, but yes.
We'll get to him. The boy screams for help as, like these hands are coming out of the ground. They've got eyes on them.
Mm-hmm.
So some kind of weird mutations.
Yes.
Which and vaguely familiar mutations.
Yes.
So the boy screams for help. The Doctor shows up, tosses his sonic screwdriver to him, and they start talking through what they call an acoustic corridor. The boy's pleading for help to get through these hand mines.
Yeah.
And the Doctor asks the boy's name, and the boy responds, Davros. And the Doctor's face just kind of is in shock. And it's very rare to have the doctor in shock, but this was just like, oh. And because he obviously didn't know where he was.
Yeah, and I guess if
and that's our opening hook right there.
Yeah, that is, and I guess it. If I had to do a line, like I said, I didn't. I was just scribbling notes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the 1001. The odds of you surviving 1001. So ignore the 1,000 and concentrate on the 1.
Right.
And survival is just a choice. So, the doctor is being very doctorish and very,
take charge.
Yeah, and the TARDIS sound is a sound of hope everywhere.
Yeah.
And then to see this,
like
my goodness.
You figure it's this great rescue moment where the doctor's going to save this boy, and then it's like, well, guess what? It's Davros that he's saving.
Yes.
So holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. Holy crap. Absolutely. So
yeah, we that lovely little snake man with lines across his face.
Yes.
Who we find out later his name is the Colony Seraph.
Okay.
And by the name Colony, you figure, well, that's an interesting name. We find out why he's called that because
it is a democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a nice touch.
Yeah. He's basically going through various places where the doctor apparently frequents, looking for the doctor. One place he shows up at, like you said, it's almost like the cantina from Star Wars,
yes.
Where you got the and the Sycorax and the Hath. He's looking for the doctor, wants to know where he is. He gives up that. He goes to the Shadow Proclamation, talks with the Shadow Architect. We get to see the Jadoon.
Charles, I'm going to stop you. Remind me, I should know the Shadow Proclamation, but I don't.
The Shadow Proclamation. They were featured in the Stolen Earth. This was like, if you remember the Ninth Doctor eras, where like the Doctor would quote like Article 14 of the Shadow Proclamation.
Okay. Yes.
And basically, I think this was kind of like I want to say almost like a independent body that kind of like kind of like oversaw. Like established accords, maybe after the time, like a Peace Accords, maybe.
Kind of the space, an outer space version of the United Nations.
Yeah, kind of.
So, and the Judean are there,
or almost like Geneva.
Okay, good. Okay,
like Geneva Accords.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm guessing something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then they have the Jadoon as their own kind of like police authorities. Right. So almost like the UN authority.
Right.
To do anything, but it's like the universe, so it's the universe nation or something.
Yes.
It's the United Nation. I guess we find out that Davros wants something from the doctor.
Yes.
Apparently Davros is dying.
Yes.
And then we travel to Karn, which we talked about last week during our Series 9 preview.
Mm-hmm.
So now we know what that little 2-minute prologue, how that featured in, because we get to see the return of Ohila and the Sisterhood of Karn. And Colony Sarf shows up, says he's got a message for the doctor. Ohila is like, well, just give me the message.
Right.
And the doctor apparently, we find out, is off hiding. He's there.
Yeah.
But he won't come out, the big baby.
Mm-hmm.
And Ohila wants to know what he's done.
Right.
So obviously there's some guilt here.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out what it is later on. We go back to Earth. We catch up with Clara. She's still teaching at the Coal Hill School. She's talking about Jane Austen again.
Yes, that was a really good kisser.
Yeah, she makes reference that Jane Austen's a really good kisser.
I do not understand, and I said this on Twitter as I was live tweeting. Why do teachers hate chewing gum? That's a universal thing.
Well, because kids stick it under the desk, and then the teachers have to clean it up.
I guess so. I love that. Can I have it afterwards?
Yeah.
How would you know which one's yours? Yes.
But she looks out, sees something out the window. She looks out the window, asks the kids to start searching the hashtag planes have stopped. So I'm sure that was trending on Twitter for a good while.
Yeah, and I love the idea that
And these planes apparently were frozen in midair.
yeah, I know the kids got a kick out of like they're telling us to take out our phones.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So yeah, very nice, very cool.
And it got obviously
Yeah.
real life Twitter involved, which I'm sure
Yeah.
was the point, because it
Yes.
to promote the show to have that hashtag going.
Yes.
Clara, I don't know what the deal was here, but basically she all of a sudden is like, okay, gotta go, and leaves class, hops on her little Clara cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and drives off to the Tower of London, which we know now is the new secret headquarters for UNIT. And
Right.
she meets up with Kate Stewart, and she's inside. She finds out that I guess 4,165 aircraft have been affected, so that's obviously a lot of passengers. And in a real life aside, that kind of like made Lori and I go a little nervous, because we're flying out tomorrow to Salt
Yeah.
Lake.
Yes, a good
Like,
point.
what better timing, huh, to find out that
Yeah.
yeah. And all of a sudden, while they're there talking about this, there's some texting that goes on during that over one of their channels, communications channels, and starts talking like the letters, you so fine, followed
Yes.
by you blow my mind. And as anyone who knows familiar with the song Mickey by Tony Basil knows,
Right.
it's Missy once again.
Yes.
And Missy apparently hacks UNIT and is telling them flat out that she wants a meeting with Clara.
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting. I don't, and I think we're going to talk about it in a minute, but I think Michelle Gomez played it perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
that she needs help, but she's not humbled. She's not, in fact, she's insulted when they say, "Why are you good?" And
Yeah.
I'm going to show you I'm not good, right?
Yeah, well, that was really interesting, because Clara, automatically assumes that, well, if you're going to help me find the doctor, you must decide you're good now.
Yeah.
And because you're saying she goes on about being the doctor's best friend,
Right.
because she presents this circular disc, which we found, like we saw in the 2-minute prologue. We were like, well, what's this disc? Well, it turns
Right.
out it's called a confession dial.
Yes.
And it's the doctor's last will and testament,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And so, but apparently Clara goes to try to, open it, but it won't open for her.
Yeah.
And Missy tells her that, well, I'm the doctor's best friend. And she
Yeah.
immediately compares Clara to a puppy.
Yes. And I I I always have loved Elliot S. Magan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The way he wrote Lex Luthor and Superman.
Right.
That they were, they were friends, and this is,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking Silver Age, that,
Right.
and that he always wrote them that there was underneath, like Superman always wants Luthor and him to be friends again.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of his mind, Luthor has an affection for Superman, that he wouldn't do anything to.
Right.
He would mess him up, but he would
Yeah.
not kill them.
Like a mental block, maybe.
Yeah, or just an kind of in a couple of the novels, Miracle Monday and other things that Elliot wrote. And so I have never gotten that vibe from the Master and the Doctor, but I could see how there is that, we were friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not have time to write all the things she said, but one of them is a lie, right? Like I've known him since he's a little girl, and all the other things.
Yeah, hopefully it's the one that I've known him since he's a little girl. That's the lie.
Yeah. No, that's not a bad. That's not a bad line. So it was anyway. I liked.
Yeah.
That Claire, and of course I think it to a certain degree every Doctor Who companion is a little bit of an egotist, thinking well, I'm the Doctor's best friend.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how many best friends he's gone through?
Right.
So it in a lot of ways you could see why he would give it to the only remaining Time Lord who knows. What do you think?
Well, really, as we know from watching The Doctor's Wife,
yes,
the Doctor's best friend is probably the TARDIS.
Absolutely.
So,
yes.
So I think Missy is in a rude awakening. And wouldn't it be interesting if the only way to open that confession dial, it has to be opened inside the TARDIS?
Yes, that would be very cool.
So I like the fact that Missy, when Clara sits down, Missy immediately digs that little knife in, asking her how her boyfriend is.
Yes.
Is he still tremendously dead?
Yes.
So it's just like, I got him.
Yes.
So yeah, just to mess with Clara.
And I was happy that Clara didn't rise to the bait. Right. She's like,
She kept her cool.
She did. So which was awesome.
She knew it was coming, so that's good.
Yeah.
I thought Jenna Coleman did a really nice job in this episode.
Yes.
So let's see. Missy starts killing guys because Clara, wants to know she's, says she's good, and Missy's like, no, I'm really good, and starts killing guys left and right. Missy asked Clara where the Doctor would go if this was his last night on Earth.
Yes.
Clara figures, well, obviously it's going to be Earth because that's his favorite planet.
Right.
So she goes through, whips out the old laptop, starts eliminating places where he was.
This is one of them that I will have to, when I watch the episode again, pay more attention.
Yeah.
Because this was kind of a timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly hand wave of, this is how they figured it out.
I thought that was a little convenient.
Okay, I did not get that at all.
Yeah, I didn't get it either because all of a sudden these little places all across the globe, like there's little dots on a map of the world,
right?
And they just kind of start disappearing until all of a sudden there's this place looks like Scotland,
right?
That or Wales, one of there, that's the only one remaining, and of course, we find out that. That place is actually medieval England, which was featured in the Doctor's Meditation, the 7-minute prequel that was during the Darkwater Death in Heaven 3D.
Yeah, and I really like that character, calling him Sir Doctor.
Right.
And, and calling him out like, I
don't
think you will, I don't think you'll ever meditate,
Yeah. I told Lori that, because she hasn't seen the Doctor's Meditation. So I said, this guy bores. Whenever the Doctor's Meditation gets released on iTunes or something, I'll have to show it to you. Just trust me about this, and then we'll explain who this guy is later. But
luckily BBC America showed it, so I was able to tape it again and watch it again. So yes,
hopefully it's on YouTube by now. But,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Missy, after Clara finds that, she kidnaps Clara using her little teleport device. They end up going back in time. I think it's she's got like Captain Jack's little little wristwatch time device.
Yes.
And she's got that, and she uses that to travel through time.
Right.
Kind of wondering where her TARDIS is.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Missy's TARDIS, have we?
We have not seen the Master's TARDIS, did we?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, you would think there's somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of wondering where that is.
We'll ask that question.
So they arrive there back in medieval times. Um, the Doctor comes out. I guess there's like a kind of like a almost like a gathering. They're having it looks like, like if you went to medieval times in Vegas,
Yes.
or whatever, and they're having some kind of event, and
it kind of reminded me of what I thought it was is, a tourney,
yeah,
a tournament that they're celebrating the Doctor, and and that's so he's kind of showing his skills, and we get those wonderful scenes that we've already talked about.
Yeah, exactly. And he just looks great coming out riffing.
Yes.
He makes the axe, an axe fight joke.
Mhm.
The next thing he does, he starts riffing Pretty Woman after seeing Clara and Missy off in the distance,
Yes.
which I thought was a nice touch.
Yes. Nice to know the Doctor is a Roy Orbison fan.
Or
yes.
a Van Halen fan, but
Well, could be, but I would picture the Doctor.
I would imagine you go. Yeah, I would imagine you go with Roy because Roy's awesome.
Yes.
Gotta love Roy. So the Clara comes out, and the Doctor immediately hugs her, which should give all of us pause because we know he's not the most huggy Doctor. And the reference to the line from Death in Heaven, where like a hug is just a way to cover your face,
right?
To hide your face.
Yes.
But instead of Clara this time, or the last time, now it's the Doctor trying to hide his face.
Absolutely.
And so Colony Sarf shows up. His face starts spinning like those.
Yes.
He's kind of like he's got little ridges in his face. Well, those things start spinning around all the crazy directions, and then he just falls apart into a pile of snakes.
Yes.
So you're like, all of a sudden, you're like immediately like Indiana Jones going, snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Well, talk about Lord Voldemort, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, holy moly.
Yeah, Lord.
So,
yeah. Lord Voldemort's got nothing on Colin
Yes,
Sarf.
exactly.
But so they fall apart. Colony Sarf tells the Doctor that Davros wants to speak with him. Missy kind of gets upset when the Doctor's mentions that Davros is his arch enemy, which I thought was nice.
I thought that was
this
awesome.
little petty jealousy.
Like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh no. And that was a really nice moment.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Colony Sarf tosses the Doctor's sonic screwdriver that he gave young Davros back to the Doctor, and the Doctor gets this look of shame upon his face that even Missy notices.
Yes,
that's something that she doesn't rarely sees. We get this flashback after that where we find out that the Doctor left young Davros to the hand mines. Like, he was going to rescue him, and he said, I'm not going to rescue you. You're on your own.
Yeah, and
then he leaves in the TARDIS.
And leaves his screwdriver there.
Right. And apparently, it's kind of a big moment that probably set young Davros off on that road to becoming an evil, megalomaniacal supervillain.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think that was kind of a defining moment that the Doctor is responsible now for Davros creating the Daleks, and so way to go, Doctor.
Did he use the technology from the screwdriver to do part of his evil plan?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We still have a part 2.
So what's your thoughts?
That's a good question. I mean, but we find out later. Well, I don't want to spoil what our ending here, but but we find out something that kind of leads me to think otherwise.
Okay.
So we'll
Go
see.
ahead.
We let's see here. The Bors gets revealed as a Dalek agent.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, oh crap, we liked Bors. Now he's like
Yes.
a pawn of the Daleks. He got the little Dalek stalk sticking out of his head. He reports back to the Dalek Emperor and the Daleks that he's got the TARDIS. So they obviously get a hold of that. They get brought back to what is apparently a space station. At least that's what they're told.
Yeah, it is.
And Colony Sarf does this really cool thing because he just glides across the floor really creepily.
Yes.
If you notice, he doesn't walk because he's a pile of snakes. So he does this really cool glide, which I thought was kind of neat. Missy and Clara are kind of locked in a cell together. Missy kind of realizes that she starts hopping up and down, realizing that the gravity is normal.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And, the key thing about Missy or the Master is I think you want to have a actor who has a likability to them, and she is bat crazy.
Yeah.
But she still is likable and has a charm. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think John Sim was playing the Master that way too, kind of like bat-esque crazy.
Yes.
But I think Michelle Gomez just kind of takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I do too.
I think you just get the impression that she's just nuts.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
So, and she's fun to watch. I mean, she can really turn a phrase, and she could really be really brutal and cutting, and she's like the ultimate mean girl, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
So Missy ends up opening the door to the outside of their cell, and Claire's all freaking out, like, "Oh my God, you're going to decompress all the air out." So Missy figures out that they're kind of there's space out there, but she takes that kind of leap of faith or walk of faith, like she's something out of Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, where she steps out, expecting nothing, or you think there's nothing there, but apparently there's a floor there.
Yeah, that was really cool. And at first you're like, I don't understand what she's talking about.
Right.
But I like that reveal.
Yeah, and you kind of Clara follows her outside, and you get the impression that, well, are they on a holodeck or something?
Yes.
That's what I was wondering.
Right.
But we find out that that's not the case.
No.
Meanwhile, the Doctor meets up with Davros, who's all nasty dying, and we get the return of Julian Bleach, which is great. Loved his performance as Davros in The Stolen Earth.
Right.
The Doctor, I guess he hears these quotes that apparently Davros has a bunch of audio files, and starts playing his the Doctor's greatest hits for him. With the 4th, 5th, and 7th Doctors, and he talks about the Doctor having a duty that apparently he needs to perform. So back to Clara and Missy. This whatever this illusion is kind of gets wiped away, and they find out that, oh, guess what? We're on Skaro, home planet of the Daleks. Holy crap! And the classic Daleks show up and take him into custody, which was great.
Now, is part of that just the idea that you're in the middle of, Nazi Germany or, communist Russia? Pick whatever bad guy you want, right?
Right.
You're behind enemy lines, surrounded by people that are not
your friend.
Your big, friend. Okay, so that's how I viewed it as.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to go. Okay. Because especially with Clara, I mean, Missy, the Master, is going to figure out a way to turn this to her advantage.
Right.
But Clara, is obviously not as inclined to take control of the situation as Missy.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so it's definitely more of a danger to Clara than I think to Missy. Um, the classic Clara and Missy are brought in to see the Dalek Emperor, and there we've got like a interesting mixture of both classic and new Daleks. And there's the old special weapons Dalek from Remembrance of the Daleks, so it's cool to see him again.
Yeah, so I paid attention after you and Karen schooled me that
Yes.
I had a Dalek phobia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so I paid attention and saw
Yep.
all the different styles
Yep.
and everything, and I thought that was really cool that it's this mixture of different
Yeah.
era,
Yeah.
so very cool.
Yeah. The classic Daleks are basically they're kind of like gray and blue and black, and they look very kind of Art Deco a
Yes.
little bit, whereas the modern ones are like bronze and a
Hmm.
little more detailed, a little more intricate. So and they look more sophisticated,
Yes.
not as cheap. So
Right.
yeah, so that's the way you kind of tell the difference.
Okay.
And the special weapons Dalek just looks badass because the special weapons Dalek
Yes.
is badass. Um, the Missy tells the Dalek Emperor about the TARDIS and says, "Hey, guess what? That little box you have right there, that's your key to whole of time and space.
Yes.
But you're going to need little old me to pilot it for you to show you how it works." And then all of a sudden, the Daleks kind of look around at each other and then decide, oh, guess what? Maximum extermination, and they exterminate Missy. Or
Yes.
do they? Dot 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 question mark.
Right.
Because some of us who have watched the Series 9 trailer saw a nice little scene with Missy and a Dalek that wasn't featured in this week's
Right.
episode. So obviously she's not gone yet.
No.
But the question is,
And
did she teleport out before the extermination? Kind of like the end of Death in Heaven, where you think she's killed by the cyber brigadier and she survives, apparently.
And one of the things too, if you didn't,
Mm-hmm.
if you had doubts when you see that they destroy Clara
Yeah, because yeah,
and the TARDIS, you
right.
go, okay, something's gonna go on.
Yeah, because Clara makes a run for it. She gets exterminated. Then the Daleks are like, well, hey, we've got this TARDIS here. Let's exterminate that too. There's this
Right.
big, bright, blinding light, so we don't know what happened. But
Yeah.
it's left to the imagination and going, oh, guess what? That's part of the cliffhanger for next week. And
Yes.
then our actual cliffhanger, and this is a pretty good one, I think.
Yes.
The Doctor um, travels back in time to where young Davros is stuck there in the little hand mine field. And, instead of offering to help young Davros and fix his mistake, because this is apparently in a future Doctor from when he was there originally,
Right.
he pulls out what looks to be like a Dalek weapon and is like, I'm ready to exterminate you.
Yeah, to save my friends.
Yeah, to save my friends, I'm going to exterminate you. And
Yes.
that's our cliffhanger, which is a pretty good one.
It was a darn good, because I had not been paying attention to the time,
Mm-hmm.
so I did not realize that it was close to the end of the hour.
Yep.
And so, and I knew in the back of my mind it was a two-parter, but great cliffhanger.
Yep.
I found it very unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think that was going to happen, and just immediately yes, and like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to get on the phone.
Yeah, Lori.
And talk to Charles.
Yeah, Lori. Yeah, I was thinking that too. And Lori and I were like, because we're going out to vacation next week, we're like, oh crap, how do we find out figure out how to watch BBC America while we're out in Salt Lake, so we could see the second part of this.
Yes.
This is going to kill us.
Yes,
So we're
absolutely.
panicking. We're gripping a little bit.
Yeah.
So so we're going to figure that out. But I hope you feel a little better about the cliffhangers and these two-parters so far.
Yes, I do. I
know you expressed some concerns last
I was concerned about that, but this I do not feel like they stretched the story. At least in this case, I think I got a full episode worth of story, and a lot of things. This was a really dense episode.
Yeah, there's
with
a lot
of
going on.
A lot of character development, a lot of characters, period. I just think a great start to the season. I'm very, very happy.
I am too. I think this is probably Moffat's best start since The Impossible Planet back in Series 6. 3 years ago. So,
wow.
So it's. I think this is the strongest opening since then.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, I just watched Deep Breath again.
The Impossible Astronaut, excuse me.
Yeah, and I did not feel like he had the burden of trying to. Let me explain that we've got a new doctor for new fans. This was
dive right in.
Yeah, he's accepted the fact that, okay, first off, BBC and BBC America and Netflix and iTunes and DVDs. If you want to be caught up, you can.
Yep, go do your homework elsewhere.
Yeah, go do your homework, and I
come back. Think we'll be here. We'll come back.
And and I appreciate the fact that the 11th hour was a great jumping on spot, and I believe that Deep Breath. I mean, I understand, but there is something beautiful about, what, we're gonna take you in the middle of the story.
Yep.
And hopefully you've done your homework, but if you haven't, just hang on. It'll all make sense as we go forward.
Yeah, I think Moffat was kind of rewarding the fans who had stuck through and or were up to speed here.
I agree.
He's made his playground. He's been building it for years. Now he's playing with it. He actually goes back to Russell T Davies era a little bit.
Yes.
With the Shadow Proclamation, the Jadoon, and all that. He plays around with that. So he's not ignoring that, which was great. And then he goes back to the classic era, which is even better. So there's a lot. If you're a longtime Doctor Who fan like me, you love this episode.
Yeah, but even if you're not, if you're someone,
if you're a new series fan, you probably love this episode.
Yeah, exactly, because they embraced both. Someone just recently, I saw today, and I don't remember where it was, but someone on Twitter had how to watch Doctor Who, and they did a graphic, and they ignored the classic series. Boo. And they talked about. I know, I was really unhappy, but they talked about starting with series 1 and how to fold in Torchwood and Sarah Jane. But I'm like. And I was like, okay, that was kind of because what I would have liked, and we did not have time to do this. Friend of the podcast, Devin, wanted us to try to work out if you're going to do a crash course,
right?
Doctors, what episodes do we watch and everything? And I think that's an interesting discussion for us to have maybe next off season.
Yeah, I think that would be great too. I felt bad because I was like, Devin, unfortunately I don't have time. Yeah. I'm going out. I've got Columbus Con this weekend. Yes. I've got Salt Lake next week. I'm swamped.
Yes, Columbus, not Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's Columbus, not Cincinnati.
And then I also want us to. We need to have a discussion before they announce who's the next companion. But I would like for us to do a special standalone episode of you and I come up with the 5 actors / characters we want to be companions, and then we'll start, not necessarily in order, but back and forth.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that would be a fun discussion, and because a lot of people I think have been unrealistic. Like, oh, we want Maisie Williams. Okay, well, Maisie Williams has a full-time job on Game of Thrones.
She's busy with Game of Thrones.
Yes,
Yeah, so, it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we'd love that.
Yeah.
So,
But I think this is one of the reasons why BBC America is now suddenly deciding, hey, we're going to show some Tom Baker episodes.
yes.
And one of those would probably be Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah, for
So,
those of you
like,
who
great
don't know,
timing.
um, and I think it's because of our podcast.
Of course, it's us.
Because we talked about, right, Karen and you and I, and we talked about they show Next Generation all the time, and
Yeah.
they have this huge catalog of Doctor Who. Why don't they show Doctor Who? Well,
Right.
starting tomorrow,
Right.
as we're recording this, but that will be the 20th for those of you,
Yep.
at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock, weird East Coast time.
Hey, now.
BBC, you started this. BBC America will show
I'll
Breakfast with
finish it.
Baker.
No.
Breakfast with Baker.
Yep.
They're going to show classic Tom Baker episodes, and it's not just on Sundays. It's going to be every day.
Yep.
And I think that is awesome.
That is awesome. Although I am kind of dreading that BBC America tends to stretch out the format of the, like the classic episodes were in that kind of 4:3 square TV format.
Okay.
So they kind of stretch it out to fill an HD screen, so it doesn't. The aspect ratio is different, so it kind of gets stretched out, So I really hope somebody gets a hold of them and they start showing it in 4:3, so it looks better, or at least 4:3 with a zoom.
Yeah.
But I'm dreading that they're going to show them all stretched out and not. It'll look a little like weird because they're not the normal ratios.
Well, next week we will cover that in our episode.
And if it gets too frustrating, just watch the things on
absolutely
on the internet or on DVD and watch it properly.
But DVR it so that they'll get the rating, so they'll know we want more classic Who.
Yeah, because hopefully, I would hope, if everybody watches the classic Who, hopefully it gets better rating. Does well in the ratings. They'll show more of it, and maybe we can see other doctors, like say Peter Davison or John Pertwee or Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy. So that would be great.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about this one? Because I know you need to get to bed shortly because you got to get up early to catch a flight.
Sleep is for the weak.
Okay.
But what's your rating of this episode?
So, the enthusiasm, wants to give me, I want to give 10 out of 10 gum spit in a trash can. I probably would give this, after I kind of settled down, I'd probably give it a solid 8.5.
Okay.
9 maybe. But if I had to say right now at this point, I would give it a 10 out of 10 because it's, you get this anticipation that, we haven't seen New Who and, and you're so built up and you're built up.
It's built up so high. The bar is raised so high.
But I felt like they delivered.
Yeah, I think they did. At least this.
How about you, Charles?
I think so too. I think they delivered. We'll see if they stick the landing. But but for all the hype that was built up for this season opener, I think Moffat did his job right, and he's launched series 9 in a big way. So
your rating?
Here's what my rating is. I'm going to give this a 9.
Okay.
We'll see. If he sticks the landing, maybe a little higher next week.
Okay.
But I'm going to give this a 9. Electric guitar riffs on top of a tank.
Okay. Very nice. Now we've already mentioned, but go ahead. You want to give your reverse the polarity?
Well, Genesis of the Daleks. Go watch it.
Now I already said I don't have a favorite line because I just didn't have time. Did you, Gaps, or anything you wanted to talk about? I almost think that Missy had the best lines.
She did. Like I said, I really like the how's your boyfriend?
Yes.
Yeah, still tremendously dead. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. That was my. But Missy gets all the great lines this episode. But and then real quick, Doctor Who news. You probably know that Jenna Coleman has officially confirmed that she's leaving.
Yes.
It was originally reported on Damn Good Coffee and Hot that she was leaving, but now it's official. Yeah, she's leaving. Apparently, she's going to be doing like Queen Victoria, little 8-part series.
Good for her.
So yeah, she's going off. I mean, she's had a good run. I mean, she's been with the show since 2012. She's going to be the longest running companion in the new series era. At the end, by the end of this season, she'll be the longest running.
Wow.
Of the new series companions. So still doesn't beat Sarah Jane. So
no, of course not. But I think that's good.
Yep.
I think I'm always open. You know, you love your companion and you love your doctor, but you get excited about what news is going to happen.
I'm really curious to see what Peter Capaldi's doctor, how he plays off with another new person, new companion.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too. And like I said, we will somehow, in between episode discussions, we will have a discussion of who we want to have on there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Charles, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at Charles Skaggs on Twitter or at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. And then I'm on the Facebook and Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. Shout out to Karen. And my blog of geeky things, Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where I talk about things like Doctor Who and comics and all kinds of stuff, and a little podcast I do with occasional guest companion Karen Lindsay called the Fandom Zone Podcast. So,
which will be a very busy podcast this fall.
It's already going to start. We have 3 shows already next week.
Yes.
So when I get back, so we're gonna have a huge. It's already starting to get big, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, and that's going to be even crazier.
That's awesome. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW, and I am also on Facebook. And my new obsession is Set Lusting Bruce, which is my Bruce Springsteen podcast.
Right.
And I'm getting some nice buzz on that. In fact, Monday morning, I'm talking to a Bruce bud from South Africa.
Ooh.
So
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of nice.
We're like Johannesburg, or
yeah.
Awesome.
And so they're gonna. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We will have to figure out when we're going to record next because you got to see the episode first. But for now, Charles, we made it together with all our friends that joined us during this off season. We have made it, and now then for the next few weeks, we have New Who to talk about, and it's just going to be awesome.
It is. Series 9 is off and running, and with a good start.
Yes, very good start. So for now, I'm going to say keep hope alive. And I am going to say the doctor, the man who keeps running, never looking back because he dare not, out of shame. This is my final victory, Doctor. I have shown you yourself. Awesome. That is Davros from Journey's End.
Nice.
And how appropriate is that quote?
Perfect.
This time?
Perfect.
Yes. So travel safe, my friend. I look forward to your tweets from Utah. And we'll talk next week.
Right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.